You ever see something so wrong, so loud and obvious, that it makes the air feel thick? Like time hiccups and just waits to see who's going to do something. That's what it felt like the day my father got punched in the face outside Carora's diner 85 years old, veteran of 2 wars, and nobody moved. Nobody. Just stood there, watching. My dad, Walter Jennings, he had this ritual every Saturday. Same bench, same spot. Noon sharp. Tan windbreaker zipped halfway up, old army cap snug over his silver hair, cane resting between his knees. You'd swear he was carved into the wood. Didn't talk much, never needed to. His presence said more than most folks' mouths ever could. Just sat there sipping coffee like he owned time itself. And maybe he did, in a way. Survived Korea, Vietnam. Took shrapnel twice. Lost men, buried brothers. Walked a mile every morning, rain or shine. Never raised his voice when the waitress forgot his sugar, just smiled, tapped the cup. That kind of man. But that day was different. Harrowikers pulled up. Loud engines, boots hitting pavement like war drums. They've been slithering into town more often lately, like weeds through cracked concrete. Some folks stopped coming to the diner when they were around. Some just lowered their heads. This time, they didn't even go inside. They saw Walter. Alone. Quiet. And they saw a target. The leader, Briggs, thick neck, sunburnt skin, temper coiled tight under a Confederate patch, walks up. Starts barking. Out past your prime, Grandpa. That kind of thing. Walter barely looked at him. Sipped his coffee slow. You got a problem, son? And I swear to God, I wish that had been the end of it. But no. Briggs kept pushing. Mocking his service. Asking what an old black vet was doing, taking up space where real men eat. Real men. You know what I mean? The street got real still. You could hear the friar's inside stop crackling. Walter put his cup down and stood. I fought for this country long before you figured out how to ride a bike, he said. Calm, like he was reading weather. Then Briggs. He swings. No warning. Just hate and ego. Fist to jaw. My dad goes down hard, his cane clatters. His head cracks the curb. Blood spreads. You ever hear silent scream? That's what it was. Folks froze. Nobody moved. Just watched. And then, 10 minutes later, I pulled in. I hadn't even changed out of uniform. Just finished a classified op at Fort Murray, an hour's flight out. Boots still laced, gloves clipped to my belt. I was supposed to walk in, hug my dad, joke about his tuna melt habit. Instead, I saw him bleeding on the sidewalk. And that bastard standing over him like he'd just taken out the trash. I didn't yell. Didn't rush. Just walked up slow. 3 feet away, I kneeled. Dad, it's me. No response. Just a twitch near his cane. Then Briggs pipes up. Your boy here to pick you up, old man. I stood. Looked him in the eye. Did you hit him? He mouthed off, Briggs says. I reminded him who's in charge. I said, you touch him again, you won't get a second reminder. That's when my team pulled in. Black SUV. No markings. Government plates. Doors open like clockwork. For soldiers, formation tight, presence tighter. Not there to scare. Just there to make sure nothing else happened. Secure the perimeter, I said. Nolan nodded. No fuss. No guns. Just control. Briggs laughed, weak. What? You sicking your army on me. But I wasn't looking for a fight. And then I turned to Briggs. Got real close. You didn't just hit him, I said. You hit every man who's ever stood silent and sturdy. You hit a legacy. Crowd still watching. Phones out now. Some filming. Some shaking. One kid inside, the diner sheriff's nephew, I think got his camera halfway up, not even hiding it. Walter was conscious now. Barely. I crouched again, cleaned his cut. A woman scrubs, probably from urgent care, ran over with a first aid kit. No words. Just passed it to me like we were both in on something sacred. Walter mumbled. He didn't like the color of my skin. I said, he didn't like that you stood up. And that hit different. He chuckled through the pain. Still hurts like hell. I scanned a lot. Soldiers in position. Nolan by the door. Rivas watching the pumps. Harlan in the alley. Nobody said a word. That kind of silence speaks louder than any chant ever could. I looked at Briggs again. Said, I want you to think about what kind of man it takes to hit someone who already fought so you could open your damn mouth. Briggs had no words now. One of his own crew whispered, Briggs, we should go. Too late. Eyes were on them. Phones up. Truth was already on tape. I told my dad. They didn't come for you, Pops. They came for what you represent. And that's when I saw its realization on faces. People who knew him for decades, who never saw him as more than an old man with a cane, now saw the blood. And it changed things for them, for all of us. One of the younger bikers peeled off his vest. Didn't say anything. Just walked. Briggs tried to stand tall again. I didn't mean. Walter cut him off. You meant to hit me. That's enough. And then, like it was out of a movie, the sheriff finally arrived. Looked around. Quietly asked, You pressing charges? I said, I'm not the one who was hit. He nodded. Took Briggs aside. The punishment wouldn't come from jail. It had come from the mirror. Later, when the crowd thinned, I helped my dad into the ambulance. You riding with me? He asked. I said, I'll follow. Got a few more things to finish. Before they closed the door, he said, He hit me. But I don't feel small. I said, That's 'cause you never were. News vans came later. Tried to interview me. I said, Don't talk about me. Talk about the man who didn't swing back. At the hospital, I brought him a tuna melt. Cold, but still his favorite. You think anyone will change? He asked. I said, Maybe a few. And that's how it starts. The next morning, 9:03 a.m., Walter sat back on that same bench. Bruised, stitched, but unshaken. Little boy passed with his mom. Thank you for serving, the boy said. You're welcome, young man, Walter replied. Travis stood across the street, didn't plan to come, but his feet decided otherwise. Sat beside his dad again. No words, just presence. You know what I kept thinking about last night? Walter asked. That invisible line. The one folks don't see till it's crossed. He strutted over it like it was nothing. But I've lived long enough to know when a line's been crossed, it leaves a mark. And I ain't talking bruises. Travis nodded. Sometimes real strength isn't in what you fight, but what you protect. Walter smiled. Your mother would have liked that. Later, the sheriff returned. Briggs wants to issue a public apology. Town Square. 3 days. Walter raised an eyebrow. Voluntary. Didn't take much pushing. I'll be there, Walter said. Before sunrise, someone scrubbed the sidewalk. Flowers on the bench. No name. Just respect. You know what hurts most? Walter asked. Not the punch. It's realizing I thought this town had changed. Travis didn't rush the reply. Maybe it hasn't, but maybe now it will. Then let's hold it to that. And if this story meant something to you, if it made you pause, made you reflect, then talk about it. Share it, because silence is easy. But choosing to see, to speak, to stand, that's where change begins. What would you have done that day? Would you have stood up or stayed still? Let's talk about it.